Hello everyone, welcome to Donny's World and Wellness Wednesday. I thought today I would do at least part of the video standing because, everybody's complained that last week's Wellness Wednesday video was so sort of like dull and depressing. So I thought I'd give you a bit of energy this week and at least prove that my legs still work, because practically everything I do is done sitting down. I'm a huge couch potato, even when I'm talking about my fitness plans. So today, as I said, I'm going to address you standing. Well, part of the time anyway. Okay, so I have a couple of confessions to make. One, when I started Wellness Wednesday a few weeks ago, probably no more than a month or so, I gave you my measurements. I told you I was determined to see an improvement most weeks, in the weight loss and in the inches lost around the waist, the hips and all that. And I did lose some weight and I did lose some inches. But, I went into a spiral of despair for all kinds of reasons. And basically, I stopped trying for a while and I'm back to square one. So that's confession number one. I'm back to square one on the measurements front, which you will see displayed on the screen. Confession number two. This channel is about self-improvement in general. So not just about weight loss. It's about health. It's about the connection. It's about all types of health. Mental health, as well as physical health, spiritual health. And so it's about the mind, body, emotional spirit connection, as I like to say. And I did promise that I was going to try going to church on Sundays. A, to keep my parish priest happy. I'm a Catholic, but not a very good one. And B, because I have read in numerous places, including very highly respected journals like the American Time magazine, that people who have some kind of belief system around religion tend to be more kind of like emotionally stable and psychologically strong than people who don't. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. We all know atheists who are in great shape on every level. We also know religious people who are very observant and just down all the time. So, these things are generalizations, but as a general rule. So I did say, and some of you are religious, as in Christian or Muslim, and you have privately or publicly encouraged me to try taking religion a bit more seriously, to calm myself down psychologically and give myself the strength to move forward in my life. And to forget some of the terrible things that have happened to me, or to put them into perspective. Well, I have confession number two is that I have not set foot near a church since I made that promise to try religion, to try church as a sort of emotional coping mechanism. And but I intend to do that next Sunday. I know I keep on saying next Sunday, but this Sunday I will really try so that next week I can tell you whether the spiritual experience did me any good. So, I think I have to sit down now. I've stood up for long enough. I think my weight loss plans are going to be more serious and more effective and more consistent this time around, because something just suddenly occurred to me. I'm going on holiday to Venice with some girlfriends in the middle of November. And Venice is a city on water, very romantic. People get around in taxis, water taxis called vaporettos, or in these lovely old-fashioned traditional boats called gondolas, or in all kinds of regular, water transport her vehicles. And I suddenly realized that if I don't do some exercise to loosen up those stiff joints, because I mean, right now I can hardly walk, and I'm very clumsy as a result. And if I don't shed as many kilos as possible, there is a very real chance that I will either stumble and fall into one of the canals or lagoons in Venice and either drown or humiliate myself completely. And hey, I might even sink one of those boats if I don't shed a few kilos and just generally make myself less of a nuisance to myself and everybody else who will be traveling with me. So I'm very focused on going to Venice in the best possible shape I can be in, considering I only have a month left. And I'm not saying I'm going to stop when I get to Venice. I'm going to have consistent, disciplined weight loss and exercise program before my holiday. And it's only 3 or 4 days we're in Venice. And then I shall continue with the program after that. But let's just look at what I have to do in the next month. And what I have to do in the next month is loosen my joints with stretching and make myself smaller. Okay? And I'm not even bothered about how I look, because I don't think in 1 month I'm going to lose enough weight to wear the most gorgeous holiday clothes. I just want to be fit enough and light enough not to completely embarrass myself and my traveling companions. So wish me luck. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Now, people have repeatedly asked me what form of weight loss, what method of weight loss do I want to embrace? And I say fasting. I've said it on these videos before, and people say, well, why fasting? It's so extreme. I think it's time for me to actually explain the reason why fasting appeals to me. We'll do it next week. We'll do a fasting special next week. But in the meantime, I want to read you something that my fasting coach, Rue, said to me when I had to go back to her and tell her that, I was feeling so down. I hadn't done anything for a couple of weeks, because I was so, depressed. And she said something very, very wise. She said, you have to decide which uncomfortable you want more. Fasting can be uncomfortable. Not eating when you are craving food is uncomfortable. But being overweight is uncomfortable as well. Not being able to wear the clothes you want to wear is uncomfortable. Not feeling like yourself is uncomfortable, especially if you've been slim in the past. Every day and some days, every minute, you have to choose which uncomfortable you are going to choose. And you can do this. Choose fasting, choose your goals, draw a line in the sand. You are so worth it. So I thank my coach, Rue Black, for those words of wisdom. I read something similar, which some people might find easier to digest, which is that basically dieting or fasting is hard, but being fat is also hard. Choose your hard, because neither option is easy. And I think we all know which hard we should choose if we're going to suffer either way. At least let's choose the hard that takes us to a place where we want to be eventually. Okay, this is the segment in which I share a few comments from a few listeners and viewers. And yet again, let me thank everybody who has liked or subscribed, and apologize to those whose comments I don't include, because you can't include everybody. First, I would like to go to a lady called Yet8117. That's her YouTube ID. She didn't give me her name. She's suffering from breast cancer, double mastectomy territory, and she got this very bad news on her 60th birthday at a time when she was alone with her doctor. So my heart goes out to you. My and my entire household here in Abuja, Nigeria, are praying for you. And I would like all the Donny's World viewers to join me in sending yet 8117 prayers and goodwill. If you're not religious, just love. Okay, we are rooting for you, and we are really hoping that you overcome the challenges you're facing at the moment. You certainly sound as if you've got what it takes. I mean, you talk about your love of traveling, so that's great. Just keep doing what you've been doing, and good luck. So, other viewers' comments. I will talk first about Patricia Wask, who did not comment on YouTube, but via Facebook, because we do share my videos on all social media platforms as well. And what she did was she sent me a video on Facebook of Black women who have natural hair that's not in great condition, and what, you know, the miracles that skilled hairdressers have done with these women. The reason this came up is because I have said that my own hair is terrible, and that's why I wear wigs. And Patricia's showing me that if I get myself a really cool hairdresser, I can actually not be so dependent on wigs in future. And I will one of these days. I'll go and look for someone who can do something with my real hair. Not sure they will succeed, but I will keep you posted if I'm able to make progress in that direction. Then we have Bettina Hosler, who says, I'm an inspiration. Thank you. Very kind of you. She says, I'm not boring, because I told you guys last week that when I gave up drinking, a friend, or not just one friend actually, said, you've become so boring, you're so quiet, and you're not as noisy and fun as you used to be. I will never be quiet, but I guess I'm not as much of a loud person as I was when I was a heavy drinker. So, but Bettina thinks I'm fine as I am, thank you. And she congratulates me on my weight loss so far, but sadly, I have rewound and haven't made any progress recently, but I will. Then there's Jennifer, who also drank heavily, and also found it quite easy to just become a moderate drinker. And she says possibly the reason we were able to do this is that we were not as physically dependent on alcohol as some people. Then there's someone else, Emma J. Music, who says that in the 70s, drinking was part of our university culture. Yes, I belong to your generation. Definitely, it was a huge part of the university culture. And she says, however, once children came along, there was a huge curtailing in socializing, especially during the week. Actually, to be honest with you, I was lucky. I had nannies and au pairs throughout my son's childhood. So I'm ashamed to say I was able to continue drinking heavily even when after I had a baby. And in fact, so my son was in his mid-20s, so maybe early 20s. So having children doesn't necessarily make you more responsible, but you know, I'm a good girl now, and I hardly ever drink. And then Emma J. Music likes my wigs. She thinks it beats having to color or highlight your own hair, which is true. It's less hassle to just throw. A wig is like a hat, isn't it? I mean, you can decide you're going to have lovely long curls or short or whatever. It's easier than trying to struggle to make your own hair look the way you want to look. Then some advice from Emma J. Look after the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. Of course, she's talking about weight loss, you know. Do it bit by bit and you see substantial improvements over time. That's the trouble with me. If I'm all or nothing, it's either I'm eating 5 slices of cheesecake a week or I'm fasting and not eating anything at all. I don't think that aspect of my personality is going to change. So, but I really, really think that that's great advice for most people. Is do it bit by bit, and you'll see great results. Muse 1950 says she's turning 65 tomorrow. That means we're practically twins because I turned 65 last week. And she says she won't cry about it because she hasn't cried in years, not even after my mother and father passed years ago. We're practically twins, Muse 1950, because I I can only cry when I'm asleep. And I know I've cried only because I wake up with my face wet with tears. So my tears, you say your tears have dried up. Mine haven't, but I just don't. It's complicated, and so we'll talk about all these things over time. Um, she says she's a comfort eater. Yes, another thing that makes us like twins. But she says we can make the last chapters of our lives healthier and happier, and I totally agree. Thank you, Philomena, for saying I look beautiful in my new wig. And Gordy Didi says the same thing and adds that I have no excuse for not swimming. I have a swimming pool where I live, and she says I've got no excuse for not using it. I should make a date with myself every day in the water. Well, I will try, but in Nigeria, women of my age don't generally walk around half naked in swimsuits, especially if, as we have, where I live, we have security guards and gardeners and things. And maybe if I go very early in the morning before anybody's around, um, we'll see. But it's a great idea. The swimming is one of the best exercises because it exercises every muscle in the body. All right, so that's all for this week. I know I've been much more positive and cheerful than I was last week. And I feel better, and I'm going to do better. So the journey to Venice starts now. Bye.